6 construction workers that were on the bridge itself? Were there any more possible other cars, other drivers on the bridge?
So there's a lot of question is on have we been able to confirm information on the number of cars on the bridge, the number of workers on the bridge. There are a lot of numbers that we've heard back and forth. We need to verify that. The search team is doing that now. That's not for the NTSB. That is for the local authorities, Maryland State Police, and the Maryland Transportation Authority, as well as their federal partners through the Coast Guard to be able to verify that information in particular.
So as of right now, there could be other victims than just the 6 that you're searching?
There are, nobody is going by a number. They are just looking and they're searching.
Chair.
That's what's important.
Chair, is there any kind of structural there?
Yeah, the structure of the bridge, there's some questions about the structure of the bridge. Protective will be how was this bridge constructed? It will look at the structure itself. Should there be any sort of safety improvements? All that will be part of our investigation. We go very broad in our investigation.
But President Garriga, but in this sense, had that bridge ever been flagged that needed some kind of security revision or something like that?
The question is, has the bridge ever been flagged for any sort of safety deficiency or security deficiency? That is information that we will that will take time to dig through. I will just point to our recent investigation of the Fern Hollow bridge collapse, which took almost 2 years to get information on inspections and what was and was not done after those inspections, and whether there were records or not records maintained. That's specific to Fern Hollow Bridge, but it is very cumbersome process. It's a very meticulous process where they have to dig through a lot of information, so it will not be something that we will be able to verify while on scene.
Are you able to speak at all about the reported power outage on the ship and whether the data recorder might provide any insight into that?
The question is on the reported power failure. We've heard the reports. We've been made aware of those same reports about there being a power outage. I've also seen statements, media releases from Singapore as well. It's something that we take in, but something that we have to verify through our investigation that was what was part of the contributing cause here. So too early to tell. Yep.
Andrew here from NPR. Can you confirm if the construction workers on the bridge were employed by Bronner's building?
Can I confirm whether the construction workers on the bridge were employed by Bronner Builders Incorporated? That is the information we have, Bronner Builders Incorporated. Of course, sometimes they use subcontractors, so we don't have any information yet on subcontractors, but we do have information on the company itself.
Chair, have they been able to confirm who's working at night, the construction workers within the 6 who are unaccounted for? Do they share any information with you guys?
Is there any information on anybody that is unaccounted for and whether they were able to verify with the company? That is something that the federal officials, the FBI, along with the Coast Guard, will verify, not the NTSB.
Sure. Last question.
We've gotten word that, of course, there were the construction workers, but one of the people was a state inspector. Can you share any word if you know about that? And that was the person that was rescued and taken to the hospital?
The question is about a state inspector. I don't have information on the state inspector at this point. We are very focused on getting our investigative groups up and running. Again, let the search and rescue team do what they need to do to focus on the people, and then we are gathering information from the owner of the ship, of the vessel, and then the operator and others for this time. Again, that was my last question. For further information, and I know it's not a lot of information for the first day, but we just got here, and really the focus is on main focus. That is everyone's main focus right now. The rest can wait. So please monitor ntsb.gov and our Twitter feed for the next briefing. Thank you.
Ma'am, will Secretary Buttigieg be coming?
All right. So you are listening to the very latest information from the NTSB right there. We are going to step away for a 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. And of course, this is a developing story. So there are a lot of questions about the integrity of this bridge, the history of this bridge, the infrastructure and the construction. And so we are going to be speaking with him on all of those topics and really the historical aspect on how bridges are constructed.
Vacuuming this space.
Sometimes the key to success is knowing what needs to be done.
Yes, indeed. Along with common sense.
Right. Sometimes it's growth. I remember I was on a TV commercial back in the old days when everything was shot on film. And we were doing a drag race. We had 5 cameras and a lot of loads. And somebody brought a PA came in on a scooter and said, "Oh, they need more film," and there's no more film. So I went in the back of the truck. You got to change the bag. Mind you, I was a PA, and I changed the book. There you go. How to do it. They're like, "You can't do that." I'm like, "Yeah." How to do it. If I don't change the roll, I'm not going to get a shot. Yeah, shot.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox as we continue to follow the very latest developments out of Baltimore, Maryland. You are taking a live look at 2 different vantage points of a catastrophic event that unfolded early yesterday morning at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time, where a very large container ship, and you can see it on the upper left-hand side of your screen, collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge in the Port of Maryland. This bridge is a very large thoroughfare, 4 lanes in all, and the Port of Maryland itself is a major port where ships go in and out carrying containers, carrying commerce, carrying supplies. On the lower right-hand side of your screen, you're taking a look at what remains of the road that led to the bridge right there. And again, the investigation continues into exactly what led to this collapse. What we do know is that there was a power failure on the ship that caused the crew to lose control, lose the ability to stop the ship, to propel the ship in any way. And there was a mayday call that was made alerting everyone that they were not going to be able to stop the ship. That mayday call, of course, saved lives right there. But again, at this point, there's also a recovery effort underway as 6 individuals remain unaccounted for. The biggest question, what is happening right now with many different agencies, is trying to answer the question, why did this happen? And to help shed more light on this, we do want to bring in Timothy Galarnik, who is the CEO of Construction Risk Management Incorporated. Timothy, thank you so much for taking your time to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And again, that very first question that a lot of people have is, how could this happen? And what we do know at this point in time is that the bridge itself was structurally sound, but it's also important to talk about the historical aspect, because the bridge itself was constructed back in the 1970s. A lot has changed since then. A lot of safety measures have been put into place on newer bridges. Can you kind of walk our viewers through all of that?
Sure. Well, we know since 1972, when the bridge was first designed, the construction began in 1972, was completed about 4 years later. It did not have any protective structures that would have prevented a contact between a ship like this and the bridge piers. A couple of things that are interesting about the video is that as you see the ship approaching the channel, which is between the two main piers, the ship is coming in from the left, and all of a sudden it makes a turn directly with its nose in line with the pier, which is, it's curious why that ship would be directly in line with the pier as opposed to being, 100 feet further towards the channel. But the bridge didn't have any of these pier protective structures, which would have deflected a errant vessel from striking the piers. The piers are the vulnerable component of this bridge.
Absolutely, and I would imagine as which it did, that is a very sensitive area on a bridge. We've seen some newer bridges that now have these barriers in place. As we look forward, because again, the next steps, of course, are to rebuild this bridge. I would have to imagine that would be one of those safety measures that would absolutely be put into place.
Actually, it would be a replacement as opposed to be rebuilding. But this kind of collision occurred exactly like this in 1980. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Tampa, Florida, was almost an identical type of steel structure on top of piers. An errant ship struck a pier and collapsed that bridge in 1980. Now, shortly after that collision, the new bridge that replaced the destroyed bridge was built with massive pier protective structures all around the Tampa Bay Bridge. So going back to what we know about Boston, Boston is probably the largest, if not one of the largest, shipping ports on the eastern seaboard. We know that. The vessel sizes from 1972 to today have increased astronomically, the sizes of these ships, both in weight and in length. For the transportation system to have not repeated the installation of pier protective structures on a bridge like this is unexplainable. I can't explain this. I don't understand why. This was predictable and preventable. And unfortunately, we are now going to react and maybe do something about the navigable waterway bridges in our country and around the world.
And you bring up two interesting points, because one, I think that ports around the United States and perhaps even around the world, when there are bridges, they are going to re-examine the current systems that they have in place.
Absolutely. We know that only 1 month ago, a bridge in China was struck by an errant barge and collapsed and killed 6 people. So this is not an unusual occurrence. We have to take proactive, because a guardrail, whether it's on a bridge or a deck railing at your home, it's not intended for those that want to jump off of it. They're there to protect against inadvertent I made a mistake and I fell down, or I had a medical condition, or I had an accident. The guardrail is meant to keep people safe. These bridge pier protection structures and the cost to construct this at the Baltimore location would have been nominal compared to now the kind of money we're going to spend on replacing this particular structure.
And you brought up a question, Timothy. Why wouldn't agencies put these into place? It's to be proactive rather than reactive. For folks who are not very familiar with bridges and the infrastructure such as that, is there an oversight committee? Who's in charge of this? Is it the states? Is it the federal government? Because again, you would imagine that there would be this standard protocol.
Well, I am absolutely apolitical. I don't care about politics. I don't work for the government. I don't work for contractors. I don't work for engineering companies. I like to call a spade a spade. Our government is not proactive. It is reactive. Now you watch and you'll see the government running around all over the country saying we got to reduce the speed until we get pier protection here and here and here. And that's those 6 lives that were lost. They're not going to forget about that. The amount of money, the economic loss, and the pain that this structural collapse has resulted is unexplainable. And the actions of the government has to be corrected, not reactive, proactive.
All right. And we did lose that live look from the pier right there, and we are going to try and get that back, Timothy. But again, you have such a unique understanding of all of this when it comes to risk management, because that really is what construction is all about. You're trying to avoid risk, and I'm sure that there are very tough conversations happening right now when it comes to something like this. What might those conversations entail?
Getting people that are away from the political arena. This is not a political issue. This is a human issue. This is an issue that is, you take a look at our infrastructure and it's a disaster. It really is, because the bridges and the roads and things that we've built over the last decades, 60, 70, 80 years, are falling apart. We don't maintain anything. We build new. We tear it down and build new. And we need to take a look at what disasters over and over again, more than 30 times in the last 30 years. 30 times in 30 years across the world do ships hit bridges. And we wait till a disaster occurs before now we're going to do something.
And you also brought up a really interesting point, Timothy, in that over the past decades, the ports remain the same, but the ships grow larger. And I would have to imagine, of course, that would make the possibility for a catastrophe such as this one even greater, because you're trying to maneuver these massive ships in a smaller area, and that's very tricky.
Exactly. And in addition to the size thing, from coal to cars to tennis shoes to food to agriculture.
Just made me think, right, when we're talking about airplanes, because air traffic has really just increased over the decades. We have air traffic controllers. Is there a similar system in place when it comes to these types of ships?
Well, let's put it this way. When the airline or the airplane manufacturing community came out with the Airbus A380, that adapted and modified and built the infrastructure in various cities to accept those huge airplanes. That is exactly what should have happened. That should happen in Baltimore, in New York, in New Jersey. Any place that has a large volume of ship traffic passing underneath a bridge We call them navigable waterways. So no, it's not every single river or stream across America. It's those rivers and channels that bring in or accept large transportation vessels, cruise ships, container ships, barges. We have to protect our infrastructure and put guards up and in place where they are going to be utilized to prevent disasters.
And so from what I'm hearing, and of course, as we've been hearing from investigators, this tragedy it really has been just a devastating wake-up call in so many ways when it comes to infrastructure.
I'm Diane Macedo. We have breaking news. Officials are holding a press conference following a major bridge collapse in Baltimore. Let's listen.
This morning, our state is in shock. And I want to take this moment to speak directly to the people of our state. To our first responders, I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe of your courage. I'm in awe of your strength. I'm in awe of everything you do for each and every one of us. You saw a crisis, and you said, what can I do to help? And our response teams are doing everything in our power to rescue and recover the victims of this collapse, literally as we speak. People who, as we speak, are out there are divers, are air assets. People who right now are working to save lives and are doing it because the state asked. And we will update the public as the work continues. To our partners inside and outside of government, I know this has been a long night. We started coordinating immediately after the Key Bridge collapsed. We've been standing together every step of the way, from our county leadership, to our city leadership, to our state leadership, to our federal leadership. And I'm grateful to call each and every one of you not just colleagues, but I'm grateful to call you friends. And to the people of Baltimore, and each and every one of the 6.3 million Marylanders who call our state home. I recognize that many of us are hurting right now. I recognize that many of us are scared right now. And so I want to be very clear about where everything stands. We are still investigating what happened, but we are quickly gathering details. The preliminary investigation points to an accident. We haven't seen any credible evidence of a terrorist attack. Our administration is working closely with leaders from all levels of government and society to respond to this crisis, and not but just by addressing the immediate aftermath, but also by building a state that is more resilient and a state that's more safe. That is our pledge, and that's our commitment, and we're going to keep that commitment. And lastly, to the victims of this tragedy and their loved ones, all of our hearts are broken. We feel your loss. We're thinking of you, and we will always be thinking of you. We pray for the construction workers who are on the Key Bridge, and we pray for everyone who has been touched by this tragedy and their families and all of their loved ones. But Maryland, we will get through this, because that is the Maryland spirit, and that's what Maryland is made of. We are Maryland tough, and we are Baltimore strong. So in the face of heartbreak, we come together. We embrace one another, and we come back stronger. That's what we've always done. That's what we'll continue to do. And that's what we're going to get done together. And we're going to pray for Baltimore. And I'd like to turn this over to Senator Van Hollen, who's done a remarkable job, our fellow delegation, in providing support. So thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Governor. As the governor said, we come together. We come together in Baltimore, we come together in Maryland. First of all, our hearts go out to all those who are on the bridge and their loved ones. We pray for them. Our gratitude goes out to the first responders who, as we speak, are out there continuing to conduct search and rescue operations. I want to thank the governor, the mayor, county executive, all the people gathered here as part of Team Baltimore and Team Maryland. And the federal government is with them as a partner. The Coast Guard, as we speak, is also part of this mission. Coast Guard cutters, Coast Guard aviation assets. I spoke twice today with Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg has pledged that they will do everything they can to very quickly release emergency response funds for this important project. The National Highway Transportation Administrator is on his way to Baltimore if he's not here already. They will be releasing those early funds once all the parties are fully engaged. Second, the National Transportation Safety Board. I talked to the chair this morning. She and her team will be conducting an investigation of what happened. And finally, the Army Corps of Engineers, naval assets for looking in the county executive, of course, Team Baltimore. But I'm just here to say, together with Ben Cardin, Senator Cardin, and Congressman Fume and others, the federal government is your partner in this effort. Thank you, and again, to the people of our state and the people of this great city. We're with you. We love you. We will get through this together. Thank you, Governor.
Morning again, Paul Wiedefeld, Secretary of Transportation. Just a few updates since our meeting this morning. The crew that was out there working was basically repairing potholes. As you understand, that had nothing to do with a structural issue at all in the facility. At this time, one person has been rescued, and so far, and our efforts continue in terms of that. Engineers are on site right now, determining both some of the structural issues, obviously some of the debris field, and we'll start to work that, but we'll work hand in hand with the NTSB before we take any further action in that area. With that, I did want to introduce the FBI for a few comments as well.
Hello, my name is Bill Del Bagno. I'm the special agent in charge of the Baltimore field office. First and foremost, I want to say that our hearts go out to everyone that is impacted by this tragedy, especially the victims and their families. On behalf of the FBI, I would like to say, first, looking at and assessing this matter from an investigative standpoint, I want to be clear that there is no specific or credible information to suggest that there are ties to terrorism in this incident. Post and quickly lashed up with our very strong partners all along the way. We will bring whatever resources that the FBI has to bear. We've already brought our crisis response, our victim services, and just recently, our underwater search evidence recovery teams are on site. And we will continue to provide all those resources as long as it takes. And as the investigation goes on, we will take it to its logical conclusion along with our partners. To the people of Baltimore, to the public, I ask you to be patient as we go through this and as information becomes available to us. And lastly, I want to say thank you. Thank you to our partners. Thank you to everyone who in the FBI and counts on the FBI. We will always bring what we need to the people of Baltimore, and we are with you. I'd next like to introduce the Coast Guard.
Good morning. The Coast Guard is still actively searching at this time. We are using response boat crews from 2 of our local Coast Guard stations, one of our helo crews from Air Station Atlantic City, and also one of our cutter crews on one of our 87-foot patrol boats. We will continue to work with our local, state, and federal partners during this tragedy. Thank you.
We'll take
Governor,
We'll take some
Governor,
questions.
Governor,
We're gonna start from this side. We're gonna start from this side.
Governor, as far as you are aware, was the collapse of that bridge inevitable as that ship hit that part of the bridge?
No, we're still in the process of investigating exactly what happened. So we don't have any further details about whether or not it was inevitable.
But no structural issue with the bridge?
No, in fact, the bridge was actually fully up to code, so we have no further information about what happened in that.
Governor, is all shipping in and out of the port now stopped completely? And do you have any estimate very early on as to how long it will be before shipping can resume to the Port of Baltimore?
Yeah, we don't have any estimates on timeline because right now our exclusive focus is on saving lives. Our exclusive focus is on search and rescue.
We're talking about that maybe that you're searching for, and how many have been rescued?
Well,
There are 8 individuals. 6 are being searched for right now. One is was taken to the hospital, and one is not in the hospital that we're speaking to.
So 6 unaccounted for?
Yes.
And does that involve individuals that may have been in vehicles that went in the water? Do we know?
We believe it's a construction crew.
Okay, so we don't think there's anyone in vehicles in the water?
No, we do not believe so.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take questions right here. Take this question here.
Governor, 2 questions. Quick, how quickly did you find out about what happened here, and what was your reaction when you heard the scale of what just occurred at that bridge earlier today?
Well, I mean, I think it was probably within minutes of everything, less than an hour, when I know that my phone first rang. And, first from the mayor of Baltimore and also from our chief of staff. And it was, we know the Key Bridge. I've ridden over the Key Bridge countless times. So many of us know the Key Bridge because it is our normal commute. This is a place that is a normal commute route for over 30,000 Marylanders every single day. And so to hear the words that the Key Bridge has collapsed, it's shocking and heartbreaking and life. But for every single one of us who are Marylanders, the words that the Key Bridge is gone, it still shakes us because for 47 years, that's all we've known. And so this is not just unprecedented from what we're seeing, what we're looking at today. It's heartbreaking.
Governor, can you confirm that the crew on the ship alerted authorities that it had lost propulsion and was in trouble?
We can confirm that the crew notified authorities of a power issue. Yes.
And that they had lost power on the ship.
Was there any ability to shut down the bridge?
We'll take the question right here.
Total of 8. A total of 8. 1 rescued in the hospital. 1 not in hospital, but we've communicated with that person. And then 6 that we're searching for.
And all construction workers working on the potholes? Or all 8 of them?
Yes, they were all related to the construction.
Right. So we heard that multiple vehicles went into the water. Any word on how many vehicles went into the water and the condition of those people that were in the vehicles?
Not at this time.
All right, we're going to shift over here.
Was there any way to shut down the bridge? Was there enough time for that distress call to trigger something like that?
Now, the thing that we know is that, even as the boat was coming in, we had a ship that was coming in at 8 knots. So coming in at a very rapid speed. We do know that the investigation is currently going on. But I have to say I'm thankful for the folks who once the warning came up and once notification came up that there was a mayday, who literally by being able to stop cars from coming over the bridge, these people are heroes. They saved lives. They saved lives last time.
So they were able to stop traffic?
The focus is on rescue now and humanity. But looking forward, is there any vision for how long it could possibly take the wreckage to rebuild, how it could possibly be done? Can you look into the future at all at this point?
This is going to be a long-term build. It's going to be a build that's going to require every facet and every aspect of our society. It is something that I can tell you we are going to get this done. We are going to make sure that this is not just rebuilt, but that we are going to rebuild in a way that remembers the people who this tragedy has impacted, and also do it in a way that that honors the community that it serves. But right now, I could not give you any form of estimate on timing or cost. Right now, my and all of our exclusive focus is we're just trying to save lives.
Can the mayor talk on the state of emergency locally?
We're listening to officials there in Maryland after a bridge collapse in Baltimore. A massive cargo ship collided with that bridge overnight around 1:35 in the morning. And now we're hearing from the Maryland governor there that they are ruling this an accident so far, with no credible evidence that this was an act of terror. Right now, we're hearing 6 people are still unaccounted for. I want to go to our
conferences that ABC has been reporting. It seems that this ship, the 948-foot-long Dolly, a Singapore-flagged cargo vessel, you can actually see it still stuck there in the channel. The collision and this steel truss bridge came down into the water. That is the working theory. There were automobiles on the bridge. There was construction going on that bridge. And as you just said, 6 people still believed missing. We are hearing the helicopters, search and rescue helicopters from time to time. We're told that there were divers in the water. They were looking on the surface of the water as well, and on the deck of that enormous cargo ship for anyone who may have survived. That effort continues here, but this apparently began when the ship lost propulsion, lost control, and collided.
And it sounds like that may have saved some lives with the ability to stop cars from going over the bridge. So what can you tell us about the victims here, the 6 people unaccounted for, and the 2 that were apparently rescued?
And Diane, the governor's message to the victims is our hearts are broken. So as we understand it, 1 person has been rescued so far. Those 6 people are still unaccounted for. And there is the bridge that has collapsed. We have seen U.S. Coast Guard ships circling around all morning. And as Terry mentioned, there are now divers who are searching underwater. Earlier today, police out the morning. Earlier today, confidential briefing memos that were obtained by ABC News indicated that the people who were on board, the crew on board, could.
And I want to bring in ABC's transportation correspondent, Gio Benitez, as well, because, Gio, this is not only a massive bridge, it's also a vital ship.
It gets to ship cars, for example. So it is a major transportation hub. This waterway is, and how important it is to this country. Right now, Diane, I think one of the big questions is going to be how this happened, right? We're talking about that loss of propulsion on this ship. When you're looking at the video that we've seen, you actually see at one point the lights turning off. So what caused this before this happened? That's when the lights went off. And so clearly there was some sort of loss of power. And so that's what investigators are going to be looking at.
So again, 6 people unaccounted for there after that massive bridge collapse in Baltimore when that container ship collided with the bridge. Divers are in the water now searching for those missing, and investigations are underway now to find out how this happened and the broad impact now to shipping and beyond. We will continue to stay on top of this story. Right now, we're going to return to your regular programming. For some of you, that's GMA in the West, and our coverage continues on ABC News Live and on abcnews.com. David Muir will have the very latest.
America.
Here's to Good Mornings in America.
Can you feel the love? Oh, yeah.
Mornings that inspire, filled with hope, kindness, joyous surprises, and so much fun.
Yeah, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That one's transparent.
In Florida, we are expecting Governor Ron DeSantis
about what happened. Janine Donaldson is standing by on the other side of what was once the Francis
has been all morning. Janine, what's happening there?
Well, right now we're just seeing some more vehicles that are we've been seeing this. It slowed down this morning, but we were seeing this a lot early. And people who take the Key Bridge, there's a man who came out earlier. He had a small bundle of flowers, and he said that was for anybody whose life had been lost or altered. This one counts as the big number 3 because he didn't have to get him this morning, and he would have